right? So in any software development, like these are the different phases in the development. So first any team who is working on a software, developing a software, they will start with something called requirement analysis, as you can see here, right? So first they will collect the requirements. What is the client requirement, right? What is the client requirement, and what type of application they need, the client needs, right? What type of application means whether it is a web application or a mobile app, right? So and what should be the how the UI should be, user interface should be, right? So they will collect all these requirements and they will design an application in this phase. In the next phase, like after requirement analysis is done, they will design the application. So in this designing phase, like they will determine which programming language to use, which database to use, and so on, and how what is the application, what should be the application architecture, right? So this is design phase, right? So once the design phase is completed, they will implement the design. Implementation is nothing but coding or developing the code for that program, right? For that application, right? So this is called implementation phase, right? So once the implementation is completed, like in a typical SDLC, or this is in, there is a small change over here over time. So let me first explain this and I will come to this. I'll explain something called agile methodology, right? So previously what they used to do is once the application is developed, once the development is completed, they used to do this testing. They used to test the software that is developed, right? So once testing is completed, then it will go to production. So this is nothing but evolution phase, right? So these are the different phases in any software development. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. But nowadays, this testing phase is started as soon as the development is started, right? So that is the only difference, between, so that is the evolution in, or that is the evolution in software development. So nowadays, like almost all the projects are following something called agile methodology, or that is also called as shift left approach. That is also called as shift left approach. I'll explain that why it is called shift left approach and all later. But for now, remember that this testing is being started as soon as the development is started, right? So that in agile methodology, right? And this is called as, this model is called as waterfall model. In waterfall model, testing will be started after coding is completed. Is it clear? I have one more diagram for waterfall model. Let me show you that. Yeah, here it is. So this is called waterfall model process diagram, right? So you can see like there are different phases here also: conception phase, initiation phase, analysis phase, right? So these both come under requirement analysis, conception and initiation. And this is analysis phase, design phase. Construction is nothing but coding, where the actual code, developers write the code and develop the code, develop the application, right? So once the coding is completed, then testing will be done here, right? So this looks like a waterfall, right? So that's why it is called as waterfall model. So once testing is completed, deployment will be done. Deployment into production will be done. All right. So like this is this is the old approach, that is nowhere being followed here. And also like this is used, this is still used only for very small applications. Okay, this is still used for only small applications, and where requirements are understood in advance. All the requirements are understood in advance. So small applications in the sense like there is some application that is being used by a company internally. For example, only 100 200 employees use it, or 30 to 40 employees use it, like some HR application, right? So hardly like there will be like number of HRs will be in double digit only, right, in any organization. So if they want to develop some application for them, right? For internal usage, they will go with this waterfall model, right? Such kind of small applications, this waterfall model is suitable. Is it clear, guys?
Yes.
You just need to understand what is waterfall model and what is agile methodology, right? Why agile methodology came into picture. Okay, so let me explain why agile methodology. First, you need to understand what is a difference between waterfall and agile. So can someone tell that, like, explain that, like, what is the difference between waterfall and major difference between waterfall and agile?
Sprints based software, sir. Agile
Okay.
means
No,
whole
from the
software is
testing, from I am asking from the testing perspective.
uh,
So that is from development perspective. So in agile, like, we have sprint based development.
okay,
Okay,
means
so from the
parallelly testing will go, sir.
right. So testing will be done in parallel with the development. So that is the, from the testing perspective, that is the major difference between waterfall model and agile methodology, right? So here in waterfall model, testing will be done, or testing will be started after development is completed, right? In waterfall model. So that is the main striking difference between waterfall and agile. In agile methodology, testing will be done in parallel with the development. Clear? I'll explain agile methodology in detail later on. Okay, but for now, we are this is good enough, right? And now, so we are not interested in this, design phase or implementation phase or evaluation phase or development requirement gathering here, but we are interested in this testing phase. Now let us understand, like, what are different types of testing and what all will be done in this testing phase, right? So this I'll take to my content. Okay, so you can see here, these are the different types of testing. So I got it, like, this is slide downloaded from internet. So you can see here, like, unit testing. These are the different types of testing in testing life cycle, right? Unit testing, sanity testing, functional testing, integration, regression, stress testing, load testing, performance and solution testing, right? These are the different types of testing. Okay, so now let's understand each of these in detail. So first, as soon as the developer starts, writing the code, right? So, like, once some module is completed, once some amount of development is completed, they do something called unit testing. So unit testing is also called as white box testing, done during the development. During coding phase, the testing done by developers is called as unit testing, right? So unit testing is white box testing during the development phase or coding phase of an application by the developers. Developers themselves do this unit testing. All right.
Yes, sir.
And why it is called white box testing means, developers know what, the application, developers know in and out of that code that they are developing, right? So that's why it is called as white box testing. So if someone is from, manual testing background, like, you will know, like, what is, why it is called white box testing, what is black box testing and all, right? Right. So unit tests isolate a section of code and verify its correctness, right? So they will, each developer will test their unit of code. Unit means a small piece, right? So unit test isolate a section of code and verify its correctness, because each developer tests their own piece of code, right? So it isolates a section of code. Is it clear over here what is unit testing,
Yes, sir.
right? And then a unit may be an individual function, method, procedure, module, or object. Function, method, procedure, module, or object. Okay. Next comes, so once this unit testing is completed, okay, let me give some example over here. Okay, so assume that a team of developers are working on Gmail, right? On developing this Gmail, right? So one developer is working on this part. One developer is working on Hangouts, right? And another developer is working on this primary tab. One developer on social. One developer on promotions tab, and one developer may be working on the search functionality. So not everyone work on every piece of code, right? On every module. Every developer will not work on every module, right? But developers will divide the responsibility between themselves. And one developer may be working on Hangouts, one developer may be working on this Google Meet, right? And one developer may be working on this mailbox, or another developer may be working on the search functionality. We have the search functionality over here, right? As I'm facing some internet issues, like that's why this is not going up. Okay, right? You got it right. So we term these as modules. So for example, Google Meeting is one module, Hangouts is one module, and Mailbox may be termed as one module, right? And this may be termed as another module. You understood what is meant by module? Guys, say yes or no, please be responsive.
Yes, sir.
Right? So you understood, right, what is meant by module? So each piece, each major piece, that is called as a module, right? So here Google Meet is maybe one module, Hangouts is one module, right? And Mailbox is another module, and search functionality may be another module, and like this, all the associated apps of Google, right? This may be segregated under another module, right? So that's what I mean to say here with module. So a module may be an individual function, method, or procedure, or module, or object. A unit may be individual function, method, procedure, module, or object, right? So once this, so fine. So one developer worked on this mailbox. One developer worked on this Hangouts. One developer worked on search functionality. Now, at the end of the day, all these pieces should be combined together, right? All these modules should be combined together, right?
Yes, sir.
So that phase is called integration, right? So once they integrate all those pieces, right? Integration means general meaning is combination, right? So once they combine all these modules together, they have again there should be some type of testing called integration testing. So integration testing is defined as type of testing where software modules are integrated logically and tested as a group, right? You got it right now? What is integration testing? Guys, say yes or no.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Integration testing is some type of testing where which is done after software modules are integrated together logically and tested as a group, right? So a typical software project consists of multiple software modules coded by different programmers, right? A typical software project consists of multiple software modules coded by different programmers. Now, when the code developed by different programmers is integrated, combined, right? So testing that, at that stage is called as integration testing. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Next. So the purpose is to expose defects in the interaction between these software modules when they are integrated. So why do we need to do this integration testing is to find out any defects once they are combined together. Once they are combined together, we have to verify whether they are integrated properly and they are working properly after integration. Clear?
Yes, sir.
This UI will be developed by another team actually. See, this whole UI will be developed by another team, right? So so after combining all these modules, different modules, right? So the testing that is done is called as integration testing. Okay, any queries over here?
No, sir.
Right. Next comes functional testing, right? The next type of testing is functional testing. And this functional testing, okay, sorry. So this integration testing is done in an environment called SIT. SIT stands for System Integration Testing, as you can see here, right? SIT stands System Integration Testing. SIT stands for System Integration Testing. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Unit testing is done in development environment only, right? So there is no separate environment for this. Like unit testing will be done by the developers in development environment only. But whereas like this integration testing will be done in something called SIT environment. Clear? So next comes functional testing. So functional testing is done in QA environment, right? Functional testing is something which we do in QA environment. QA stands for quality analysis or assurance. Okay, quality analysis or assurance.
Okay, sir.
Right? So functional testing is a type of black box testing. These are, these terminology is important for interviews, like what is white box testing and what is black box testing and why is it called so, right? So functional testing is a type of black box testing where the system is tested against the functional requirements or specifications, right? So why this is called as black box testing is testers do, need not know about the programming language. Our testers need not know the, in which language the application is developed, right? So they need not know the internals of the application, but right, to test that application, all they need is the functional requirements and specifications. Now let me explain what is functional requirement and specification. So I'll take the same Gmail example, for instance, right? So I will open a new window, right? So I opened observe here, observe here. There are two things, right? New tab, new window, new in private window. So new tab means, a new tab will be opened here. New window means a new browser will be opened, right? You should know the difference between these three, right? New tab means a new tab will be opened in the same browser, right? Whereas new window means a new window will be opened like this. A new Edge browser has been opened like this. I am using Edge now. Okay,
Okay, sir.
guys.
Yes, sir.
And what is this new in private window? So new, let's understand this new in private window. I'm launching that new in private window. Observe here, the background is black for new in private window, right? Any browser like, that is called as, in Chrome, that is called as incognito. See here, shortcut is same. See here, Control Shift N, right? So new incognito window, right? So when you say new incognito, when you choose this new incognito window, the background, see here, you can see the background is black, right?
Yes, sir.
So there is a difference between a normal browser and incognito browser, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right. I opened a notepad, like I kept, dot log, right? So the reason is, if you keep this dot log, whenever I open that notepad, right, it will automatically insert the timestamp like this, right? You see the time and date, automatically inserted, right? That is because of this, dot log. Okay. So in, so this is called as private browser, right? Uh, Okay, let's understand what is the difference between private browsers and normal browser. Okay, private browsers, in Chrome that is called as incognito. In Edge that is called as private. It's right. That is called as private. Okay. right? Let me show you in Firefox as well, right? So here you have again private window, right? New private window. Okay. Now let's understand what is the difference between this a normal browser and to Firefox also it is called as private. Now let's understand what is the difference between this, normal browser and private browser. Okay. So what in private browsing does? So observe here, the first thing is private browser will not store the, your download history, right? It will not download it will not save the browser cache, right? Means what is meant by browser cache now again? See here, this is incognito mode, right, of Chrome. So if you read the description, Chrome won't save the following information: your browsing history, cookies and site data, information entered in the forms, right? Incognito browsers won't save this browsing history, right? Cookies and site data and information entered in the forms. Is it clear? Or should I explain this? Like what is browsing history, cookies and site data? I'll explain cookies, what is meant by cookies, but you know what is browsing history, right?
Yes, sir.
And information entered in forms, this also you know that, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? And but your activity might still be visible to websites that you visit, your employer or school, your internet service provider, right? So don't, just because your browser doesn't save the browsing history, or don't assume that no one can find out that, right? It will be, your activity will be still visible to your employer if you're, in your office. If you are using internet in your office, this information will be, whatever your browsing history and all will be visible to your network IT team, right? If you are working in an organization, they still can see that information, and your ISP, internet service provider, also can track that information. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, and coming to day-to-day perspective, why I used, let me explain why I used incognito now, right? So see here, suppose, if I am already logged into Gmail. Suppose I enter Gmail here. What will happen? It will log in into the same email ID, right? Whatever I entered here, it logged into the same email ID, right?
Yes, sir.
But like if I open an incognito new private window, right? So if I type gmail.com, will it log in into my account directly?
No.
Did it log in into my account directly? No, right?
No.
Because this is an incognito browser, right?
Yes.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
So, now let's come back to this functional testing, right? So assume that, some developers are working on this, developing this Gmail application, right? So development is, they developed this sign-in page or login page. Now it came for functional testing, right? So what functional testing will do? What is meant by functional testing, first of all?
It's a type of black box.
Yeah, so functional testing is type of black box testing where system is tested against the functional requirements or specifications, right? So functions are tested by feeding them input and examining the output. Functions or features are tested by feeding them input and examining the output, right? Functional testing ensures that requirements are properly satisfied by the application, right? It ensures that the requirements are properly satisfied by the application. So let me give some example over here with this, same Gmail application. So suppose if you enter, see, you got the login page, right? You got the login page over here, and like it is prompting for email or phone, right? And suppose, like if I enter, like I'm entering my mail ID, right? Right? So perftest.kb at gmail.com is my another mail ID, right? So I entered this email ID, or you can also enter at gmail.com. You can skip also.
Uh,
You know that?
yes, sir.
You can just enter this part only at gmail.com can be skipped. Still it works, right? So enter this, your email and click on next. Then it should ask for the password, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Here we enter the password and we log in, right? So, but suppose if we enter some invalid email ID, I entered some junk value like this, right? Then what should happen?
Wrong.
And I click on next, it should, throw an error message like this, right? So enter a valid email or phone number, something like this, right?
Yes, sir.
So these are the requirements, functional requirements, right? So if a valid email address is entered, it should prompt for the password. If the entered email or phone is not valid, then right, then it should display an error message. The application should display an error message, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is called functional testing. You got it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is a valid email ID, right? So, and once I click on next, it should prompt for the password. Now I enter the password. And if it is a valid password, again, it will check it against the database, right? And it will ask for it will allow me to log in, right? So of course, here I enable the two-step verification. Two-step verification means I have to allow this login from my mobile, right? That is two-step verification. I have done it on my mobile. Now it is allowing me to log in, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now it has allowed me to log in because I entered a valid email address, right? Valid email address and password. So if I don't enter valid email address and valid password, like obviously it should not allow me to log in, right? If the password is not correct, it should not allow me to log in, right? So this is what functional testing will team will do, right? And suppose once I log in, suppose if I click on this compose, right? If I click on this compose, I should get a new window like this, right?
Yes, sir.
New message, and I should get a window like this with the two CC BCC fields. It should be also containing these fields, right? It should
Sir.
be having two field CC BCC, right? So you know what is CC and BCC, right?
No.
And I have set a signature actually. That's why it is coming up here. I have already set a mail signature. That's why it is coming up. So you should be having all these options, right? So this is what functional testing team will do. So once they click on this compose button, so we should get a new window with all this, right? They will test whether whether the application is showing this new window or not with these fields, right?
Okay.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
And this is done in some environment called QA environment, right? So you should know, you should remember, or you should understand what are the different types of testing, right? So the here I have given a major list like unit testing, integration testing, functional testing, and then comes performance testing, right? So functional testing should be an application should be functionally stable first of all, right? Application should be functionally stable, means there should be no functional defects, right? Then only there it makes sense to do performance testing. Now let's understand what is meant by this performance testing, right? So once functional testing is completed, like our functional application is functionally stable, right? So performance testing will be done in some environment called test environment or engineering environment. So some few organizations call it as test environment and few organizations call it as engineering environment. Okay. Now what is this performance testing, right? So performance testing is non-functional testing, right? To determine the speed, responsiveness, and stability of a computer network, software program, or device under workload, right? So it is the non-functional testing, right? We are not bothered about the functionality, right? But this is non-functional testing to determine the speed, responsiveness, and stability, right? To determine how speed is the application and how responsive is the application and how stable is the application. Say for example, let's take some example, right? I'll take some, let's take some IRCTC example. So if someone used IRCTC like 5 or 10 years back, the performance used to be horrible, right? So like there is no guarantee if you try to book a ticket, there is no guarantee that a ticket can be booked, right? The probability of booking the ticket is very less previously, like around 5 to 10 years back, right? If someone know, did anyone experience this?
Yes, sir.
So it used to break in the middle, like at the payment page, or when we are searching for trains, it used to break, the application used to break. We used to get page can't be displayed errors, or some sort of errors, right? So but of course, like now from 5 years onwards, like you know the application, IRCTC application has evolved a lot. The reason why I'm taking IRCTC application is like daily 20 lakh tickets will be booked on IRCTC. 20 lakh tickets will be booked on IRCTC, right? On an average, right? So, and like how many for this 20 lakh tickets, how around like 5 to 7 lakh users will be using IRCTC, right? 5 to 7 lakh users per day. Got it? Because we can book 1 to 4 tickets, right? Each user can book 1 to 4 tickets, right?
Yes.
Right. So around 5 to 7 lakh users, use the application, and around like 20 lakh tickets will be booked per day, right? And out of these 20 lakhs, like 15 lakh tickets will be booked online, 15 to 16 lakh tickets will be booked online, and some 3 to 4 lakh tickets will be booked through reservation counters. You have railway reservation counters, right? So there, like, the number of tickets booked will be 3 to 4 lakhs per day. The rest of 15 to 17 lakhs, or whatever it is, 15 to 17 lakh tickets approximately will be booked online. Okay. Now, when these many number of users are accessing the application, right? So application should be speed and responsive, right? When there is huge load on any application, right? How speed is the application? How speed means how much time it is taking to load a page, right? Say for example, I hit this irctc.co.in, right? Now I click on this holidays, or I click for special trains, or I look for packages, right? So this is the speed of the application. Of course, this page is not loading fast now, right? Speed means like how much time it is taking to show the page, right? That is called speed or response time. Response time of the application, right? We got a new term, response time, which is important for performance testing. So response time is nothing but how much time that application took to load the page, right? So around, it took some around like 10 seconds, right?
Yes, sir.
Or let's go to some other page. Okay, well, let's go to flights. All right. So it is taking some time to load the page, right? So that is called the speed or response time of that page. Clear? Okay. So performance testing is non-functional testing. So we are not bothered about the functionality, right? But we do, that's why it is called as non-functional testing. And that is done in an environment called test environment or engineering environment. Okay. And the objective of doing performance testing is to determine the applications, right? Speeds, stability, and scalability. Okay. I'll explain again these terms. I just want to introduce different types of testing today. I'll explain performance testing in detail in the next sessions, right? So like how do we do this performance testing? You understood, right? What is meant by what is performance testing? How do we do performance testing?
Yes, sir.
And what is the importance of performance testing, right? So like unless until performance testing is done, right? So we cannot make sure that the application, I gave some numbers, right? So how many users will be accessing IRCTC per day, right?
Yes, sir.
Not during this lockdown period, guys. Okay, so previously, when before this pandemic, right? So 20 lakh tickets, will be booked per day, right? Those are the average numbers, and like 15 to 17 lakhs tickets will be booked online, and 3 to 4 lakh tickets will be booked through reservation counters, right? I'm sure about those numbers. Okay. So when these many lakhs of users are using the application, they have to do performance testing, right? So, the IRCTC should do performance testing of their application before releasing it to production, right? Suppose some new feature is introduced into the application, right? What some new feature is, can you list down some new features that are introduced into IRCTC?
Probability.
Yeah, that search probability is introduced. No, ticket booking probability is introduced, right?
Yes, sir.
Confirmation probability, right?
Yes, sir.
That is some new feature introduced like around 2 years back, 2 or 3 years back, right? So when such new feature is introduced, again they have to do performance testing for the application, right?
Yes, sir.
So these are all cases like, well, when we have to do performance testing. So I'll explain those in detail in the coming sessions, right? I explained it over here, like, what are the, why do we do performance testing, in what cases we do performance testing for an already existing application and for a newly built application. I'll explain with examples. Okay, first let us understand, like, what is performance testing, right? So and how do we do the performance testing? So now if you want to test this application with, some 15 lakh users, right? So how do we do that, right? Let us understand that. Okay, suppose you want to do testing for, suppose, there is a small application developed in for internal usage, and only 5 to 10 users, use the application, right? Max 5 to 10 users will be using the application, let's assume, right? So if you want to do performance testing, you can make, sit 10 10 testers, 10 test engineers, right? And you can, like, test that, in that way, right? So you can engage like 10 test engineers, and you can ask them to click on this irctc.code, ask them to click on a button, or ask them to go navigate to a page, right? But, if you want to test this application with 15 lakh users, or thousands or lakhs of users, right? So how we do performance testing is, we will simulate the real business flow of your application. We will develop scripts for the application. In the last session, I have shown you, like, how do we develop a script using LoadRunner, right?
Yes, sir.
In one of the last session, I explained you, like, how do we develop a script with LoadRunner, right?
Yes, sir.
We developed a script for, like, uh, for, what is that? For user registration, right?
Sir. Hmm.
And we have run that script, right?
Hmm.
So in that way, in the same way, like, we simulate real business flow of your application, right? So now, so what is response time? Let me finish this. Time taken to load a page, right? A web page, right?
Yes.
Suppose you are testing some net banking application, okay? Net banking application, right? Now, like, what would be the business flows of your application? Business flows means, what do we, everyone is using net banking application, right?
Yes.
Maybe everyone may not be using IRCTC, but everyone use some net banking application, right?
Yes.
What do you normally do with the net banking application? We have to first do registration, right? We have to register ourselves, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
We'll register ourselves. Then
Hmm.
what else we do with the net banking application? Yes.
We will log in with our credential.
Yeah, login and check balance, right? That is one common business scenario, right?
Yes.
That is, see, these are the things any user will do with a net banking application, right?
Yeah.
What else? So one is user registration, right? The second one is login and check balance. Next, Ravi.
Fund transfer.
To do that fund transfer, we have to add the beneficiary, right? Yeah, of course we can, without adding beneficiary also we can do fund transfer, right? One-time fund transfer. There is something called one-time fund transfer, right? Yeah. So fund transfer. If you want to, add beneficiary, if you want to do multiple transactions, more than one transaction, we will add that beneficiary, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What else?
Account statement.
Yeah. So once we add beneficiary, we will activate that beneficiary, right?
Oh, okay.
And next, account, we will once in a while, like we will generate an account statement, right? Next, what else?
Generate debit card pin. If you forgot debit card pin.
Yeah. So setting the debit card pin or credit card pin and so on, right? So I'm asking, like, critical, what are the important business flows? What we mostly use. So when you say fund transfer, there are different types of fund transfer, right? What are the different types of fund transfer in India?
IMPS, NEFT, RTGS.
Yeah, NEFT, RTGS, and IMPS, right? Yeah. What else? Some credit card payment. We do some credit card payment, right?
And other bill payment.
Yeah, and utility bill payments. Next.
Travel payments.
Sorry. Loan payments, right? Next. What else? Once in a while we do profile update, right? Address update or email update, or like our Aadhaar update, right? Address update, Aadhaar update, or email, phone number update, and so on, right? So that profile update, like that all comes under profile update, right? So these are the critical business flows for the application, right? Now, if you are testing net banking application, you have to test all these, right? Suppose your net banking application is being used by some 5 lakh users, right? So you want to do performance testing for your application. Now what you do is you will develop one script for each of these. For user registration, you will develop one script, like how we did for user registration on WebTours application, right? In the same way, we will develop one script for user registration, one script for login and check balance, one script for fund transfer, right? And for, or we can develop separate scripts for NEFT and RTGS and IMPS, right? It will do as per the client requirement. And one script for adding a beneficiary, one for activating beneficiary. So we will develop one script for each of these, and we will test that application with these scripts, right? And these are the script should be your, they should simulate real business flows of your application. Each script should simulate real business flows of your application. Is it clear now? Is this point clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, like, so far this is for a net banking application. Now, suppose if you are testing a travel application like IRCTC. We are using many travel applications, right? Like IRCTC. What are the majorly used?
Redbus.
Right. Redbus. Right. IRCTC and Redbus. Or anything else that you use? Clear Trip or Make My Trip, right? make my trip, etc. Right? Now, what would be the business flows for these applications, travel applications?
Traveling date.
Again, we have to register ourselves. We have to create an account, right? Next.
Login.
We will first search for buses, right? Search, right? Search for buses or trains, right? Some applications allow without logging in, right? Redbus allows without logging in itself. We can search and only while booking ticket we can log in, correct? Right? Next, third one, login, right? Fourth, book a ticket. Next.
Payment.
What else? What else we do with travel application? Most of the travel applications allow us to book hotel rooms also, right? And once in a while we may cancel a book ticket, right?
Yes.
Once in a while we will cancel a book ticket, right?
Yes,
Yes
sir.
or no? Right?
Yes, sir.
We print a ticket, right? Of course, right now everyone is using M ticket or mobile ticket, right? But print ticket option also will be available for any application, right? Yeah. So if it is IRCTC application, we will do something called add passengers, right? Do you know that? We can add passengers details so that we need not enter their date of birth or their age and all, right? IRCTC provides a feature like we can add the passengers, right? Details, right? So that next time we will select the names. We can just select the names and without entering their age or gender or their ID proof, we can directly book a ticket, right? Without entering details every time, right? So these are the critical business flows for that application. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I want you to list out the critical business flows. Right? So we will take another application that which you mostly use or fondly use, right? Now tell me, what are the critical business flows for Facebook?
User registration, login.
Again, you do user registration, right? Or you create an account, right? Or user registration or account creating account. Yeah. Next, login.
Login.
Yeah.
Friend request.
What is that?
Friend request.
Send a friend request. Next.
Approving a friend request.
Approve request. Next.
Like joining in a group or like the group.
Yeah.
Create
So
a post.
I'll name it as group activity.
Group.
Right. So you will view post, right? View post is another important business flow, right?
Yes.
View
Sharing.
post
Sharing a post.
Sharing the post.
Yeah. Sharing the post. Share a post, right?
Send that post through other applications like WhatsApp or Messenger.
Yeah. So these are all the critical business flows for Facebook, right? Now, if you are doing performance testing for Facebook application, you have to test all these functionalities, right? All these critical business flows, right?
Yes, sir.
So how do you do that? Can you engage, Facebook is application is used by 20 million people across the globe, more than 20 million people, right? So you can't engage 20 million test engineers and you cannot do that testing, right? So for that, you will develop one script for, user registration or creating an account, one script for login, one script for send a friend request, and so on, right? One script for approve request, one script for group activities, and all this. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So we will take what are the real business flows of your application. We will simulate, we have to simulate the real business flows of the application and test the application under predefined concurrency. Means, if we are testing IRCTC, we have to test with 20 lakh users, 20 lakh, sorry, 5 to 7 lakh users, right? Because on an average, like 5 to 7 lakh users use that IRCTC application, right? If you are testing Facebook, you have to test with 20 million users, right? That is called concurrency, right? So you have to test with those many number of users, right? And validating the app server's readiness ahead of peak events like a big billion sale or Black Friday, right? So if we don't do performance testing, right, when there is some event like this, big billion sale or Black Friday sale, right? We already know that what happened, during initially in the on Flipkart or Flipkart big billion sale, Flipkart servers crashed, right? So if we don't do performance testing for when there are uh, peak events like this, your application may crash and they may lose the business. They may lose a lot of business and reputation, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? And test the application stability before or after version release, right? So this is a performance testing at a high level. This is how we do performance testing at a high level, right? Okay, I'll stop it here and take any queries. I'll stop it here for today. So I'll start a tracker also for your batch. Like I will maintain a tracker for each batch. Okay. I'll start the tracker tomorrow. Right, I will maintain a tracker like this for every batch. Okay, I will make it ready by tomorrow. I'll stop it here. So I'm stopping recording. So any queries? If you have any queries, we can.